Namaste, greetings. Welcome to yet another ManageBetter show. Today is episode number 74. Yes, I have renumbered the series a little bit because I had missed out some episodes which I had forgotten to count. So the correct number now is episode number 74. Thank you very much for joining. I can see that we are live on LinkedIn and YouTube and on the live stream of our guest as well, which is a new feature that we are trying. So fantastic. Those who are already live, perhaps on YouTube and uh, LinkedIn and on Suman's LinkedIn as well, do give me a shout out. I will be happy to see if this is working, right? So yes, at least the Dr. Kapender forgot. Yes, this seems to be working. So I'm always mindful that whether, yeah, Sonu, I see your message. Mindful that whether technology is my friend today or not. And very often it takes a little bit of effort to make technology your friend. So we have accomplished that. That's fine. Yeah, a lot of people are now commenting, so which means everything is fine. Today's show is a little slightly different from most of my shows. Till now, most of the shows have been around skill set that will help you or a certain domain that will help you grow in your career. And of course, around mid-career, what can you do? Job search, building some skill sets, learning new skills. But there is one area which we all struggle with, and you might find this familiar that you may think, or people around you may think, that we have done everything in the job that was required. Or if you're applying for a job, you may think you have everything that is required. Your resume is perfect, you have the experience, you have the qualification. If you're mid career, you think that you have done the performance in the last year, you got good grades, or in performance appraisal, you got good ratings as well. Yet you don't make it to the next level, or yet you are not among the more favorite ones for some key important projects. At that moment, perhaps, and only perhaps, you realize that there is some X factor that is missing. Right? This X factor is not some music reality show kind of X factor. This is actually soft skills, the life skills that sometimes I call. There are some skills that we are perhaps a little less proficient in, or there are some rough edges. Right? Maybe we talk a little differently in meetings. Maybe we present ourselves differently, and so on. And that usually, when two or three or five people are equal, this set of skills, the what we call soft skills or life skills, becomes the differentiating factor, right? So last week we met Aarti Sharma, who's an expert in image makeovers, and she's an international certified consultant in image makeover. She taught us how to project our image after we have built a certain set of image, and also, of course, how to project differently in different situations. So the next logical topic was how to enhance our soft skills. Everybody has soft skills, so it is not that we don't have. We are only building or enhancing on what we have. Right? As we grow in our career, we add skill sets, we add certifications, but we forget to add these skill sets. So today I will be speaking to Suman Kher, a fellow LinkedIn top voice, and these are the few occasions where I show off my top skill badge, top voice badge. But she's a fellow top voice as well, and in the area of soft skill. So among the very very small percentage of top voices on LinkedIn who are experts in soft skills and related topics. Right? What I will do is that I will not give you a detailed introduction. She is a very accomplished professional in this space, and a good friend as well. I will bring her into the stream. But when I do that, do check her profile, and if you like what she does, she's shares some fantastic content, right? So if you already don't follow her, you should follow her and learn, right? And this is all free stuff, right? So why pay for something that you can learn for free? And then, of course, if you like, services are always available. But a little bit about every guest is important, right? So she's been working, I think, more for over 2000 from since 2002 or so, and is a coach in the communication space, soft skill space, and some of the clients that I was very interested in sharing with you is HDFC Bank, Titan, which is Titan Fast Track, Bajaj Alliance, Twinnings Tea, Godrej and Boys, Reliance Energy, and several other organizations. So in all these places, she is able to help with soft skills and communication training, and is part of the expert panel for startups like Upgrad and Academy, and conducted several sessions for graduates and also mid-career professionals. Where does she help? She helps in communicating clearly and effectively, learning how to organize your thoughts, inject life into very boring presentations. So some of you might be thinking I'm boring, so I'll bring her in and she will inject some life. Maybe I'll ask her for some live tips to how to improve my own delivery, and the likes, right? So she also helps other women leaders develop confidence and own the room as a woman. So it is about time that I invite Suman into the show. Suman ji, namaste and welcome to the show. Hi. Finally, we have the show. We have been trying this for some time. Welcome to
Yeah,
the show. And
I am super duper excited, Anshuman, to be here. It is so fantastic to be a part of your show. What you're talking about is so important, and I'm so passionate about it, and I'm so looking forward to the session that we're going to do together today.
thanks a lot, Suman. Thank you very much for making the time, because I know that for solopreneurs like you, or
Anytime.
it is sometimes any time is fine, but it is sometimes difficult to find that exact time, right? So glad that we could make the schedules match,
But we
and
have to make time for the important things in our lives. If something is important, we have to make time. And for friends, there is always time.
already lesson number one, that if you think something is important, give it the time. Your calendar
Yeah.
should show what is important, not your statement. So glad that you are here. Any opening comments, Suman, before we get deeper into the questions?
So I wanted to quickly add that I've been a soft skills and communication trainer for 2 decades now, like Anshuman said. And apart from everything else that I have done since the pandemic, I've really specialized in working with CEOs, doing one-on-one coaching programs. So mid-career and upwards is really something that I deal with on an everyday basis, and I help clients go from A to B. If there are 8, I try and get them to a 9.5, which I think is kind of difficult. And what I want to highlight is I've done this like most of my life. I've never gone into something else and then came into this. So I'm like a hardcore true blue communication coach, if you will, because this is the only thing that I've done all my life. So yeah,
In any case, Suman, it takes, and probably this generation doesn't give it so much credence, but maybe in time it will change. That it, in my view, it takes about 10 years to get to be that expert stage in any career, unless of course there are other factors that play. But most of us, it takes about 10 years in the same space
you have to stick to it. Yeah.
to stick to it, right? And if you read Malcolm Gladwell's book around this, and he talks about the 10,000 hour rule, which is a little debated, but
Yeah,
assuming that he has done the
controversial.
research,
Yeah. It
uh,
makes sense actually.
makes sense. 1,000 hours,
Yeah.
300 working days a year. Let even if you count out 2 months of holidays, 65 days go, 300 years.
Wow, that's quite some math.
So 300 years, 3 hours a day makes it about 900, so a little bit more, 1,000 hours a year. So 10,000 hours is actually 10 years. So it kind of adds up a little bit.
Yeah.
Cool. So glad that we are talking again today. So today's session a little bit, Suman, is more around what can mid-career professionals do, and of course, some of it also applies to seniors and also juniors. So it's not that the advice or input is only for mid-career people, but
Yeah.
since most of my work focuses on that, I try and rally around that, and so we will try and focus on that. First up, so just as we get into deeper into the show, what are soft skills, and why do we think why should we even give it any importance? Like I said in the opening of the show, that I've done good work last year. I got number one rating.
Yeah.
I completed all my tasks. I managed whatever was given.
Hmm.
So why should I bother about these fine, things which I was not born with? I grew up in a home where being rude and rough was commonplace. So why should I consider this? And I'm talking or asking this on behalf of several thousands of people. So before we get into what are soft skills, why are they even important?
I think, as you said, that if somebody has gone ahead, I've done my job, I've done my projects, I've done all my work, then what else is missing? After a point in one's career, everybody hits a point where they say, I'm not moving ahead. Okay.
Mm.
And trust me, it is a lack of soft skills that's stopping you. Okay. So, with doing whatever you need to do, you will reach a particular point in your career. But in order to move up, that's when soft skills is that additional thing that you need. Now, what are soft skills? We know what all needs to be done, but how to do that is what soft skills are. I'll give you a very simple example. Say in our
Sure.
personal lives, we are talking to our children. Okay. You could tell your kid, don't eat that packet of chips. It's lunchtime. All right. Or you could logically tell the kid that it's lunchtime right now. So you have lunch now and you can eat the whole packet in the evening. Okay.
Mm.
Which do you think is more likely to convince the kid to give up that packet, right? You know, you don't want the kid to have chips right now, which is the what?
Correct.
How do you convey the same idea to get the desired result that you want? And when you talk about work situations, if you're managing your team, or even if you're somebody who's working under a team leader, how you say things is how you build your brand. If you're this rude person or this person who doesn't listen to people, or somebody who just says what he or she feels like, that's your brand. You don't have soft skills. You're not likely to get the results that you want, right? And as we move up the career ladder, it becomes all the more important, because if you're dealing with six different people, you need to know how to change what you want to say, which is why it's soft skills, how to change with each person to get the desired result that you want. Some people may understand logic, some people may understand politeness, some
Correct.
people you may actually need to be a little assertive because you know you need to be firm, and then this guy is going to get the job done. Okay, so that kind of variety and complexity that communication brings in at mid career and upwards, I think that's what makes a huge difference, and which is why soft skills is soft and you need them in order to move up in your career beyond doing whatever is required of you. I hope that answers your question.
It does. It does. And I wanted to start with most of my shows. I want to start with why. Why is it important? Why should we do this? Because if people in the audience, and including myself, right? So I'm a student right now for you. If I can get the understanding that why this is important, there's a higher chance that I will focus on the what and how later on.
Yeah,
So
so simply put, if you want to move ahead into senior managerial level, it goes without saying. Most of the people I work with are like, yes, I am at this mid managerial level. I talk to my team, I talk to my stakeholders, but then I don't know. I'm just not in that mental space where I can be my boss or later be the boss's boss, right? I'm in the senior management, but somewhere I'm stuck. So if you want to keep moving smoothly through the career path, okay, you have your technical knowledge, but that alone will not get you that promotion, will not get you higher positions. So if you really need to smoothly move up to career, in your career path where you say, hey, I'm really good at what I do, but how will you convey that to people? How will you bring that out in your work, in your conversations? Okay, that's why it's important to develop soft skills so that you can convey, you can communicate that expertise that you have to people and say, hey, I'm really up to this, I think I can take up this project, or I'm ready for the next position.
and Suman, maybe just to add a little bit, it is probably also because as we grow in our careers, particularly in service industries or service related industries, we are actually working only with people. We just think that we are working with technology and other things, which may be true, but it is people who we work with or work through. And therefore, if we don't know or don't give importance to how to handle people or how to interact with people, which is the area of soft skills, we actually don't get anything done, or we may get something done through fear and pressure and duress, under duress, for maybe 3 months or for maybe a year, maybe more. But in the medium and longer term, it
It's not
doesn't.
going to.
Yeah. Okay. So we have some overseas participants also. So yeah. So
That's
that's
great.
nice. Yeah, somebody from Somalia, first time, Eid Ali. Thank you, Eid. Or I hope it is pronounced as Eid, but thank you. Somebody has messaged that, this is not my normal studio that I operate out of. Yes, good observation. This is a different room, but I just had a little bit of a trouble with Wi-Fi today, so I thought, let me use a different room where there is more stable Wi-Fi. So, but glad that my audience notices where I am standing.
Loyal
Uh,
fans. They are your loyal fans. So,
could be, or since I am nothing to look at, they are looking all around me. So that may be also the case.
yeah.
Okay, so we have why out of the way. What are these soft skills? So you've been in this space for 20 plus years, Suman, and
Yeah.
in your experience, the people you have worked with, the companies you have guided, consulted with, what are the top ones that come to mind? So, in career, from a career point of view.
Yeah, I think the top skill is communication, although it may seem like, oh, that's so common. I mean, I communicate, I have 10 years of experience. It's not like I can't talk to people. Okay. But with the pandemic, things have kind of changed where you're talking to people who are sitting in their homes on a virtual call. You're talking to people who are probably it's an offline meeting. Sometimes it's a hybrid meeting. So you're trying to cater to both kinds of people. Okay. So communication, although it sounds very vanilla, things like how to organize your thoughts on the spot. But while you're organizing your thoughts, your delivery also needs to be impactful. One of the most common things people forget to bring their hands on the frame. Okay. They're just talking heads. They'll be too close to the camera. Okay. So then that's also robbing them further of that presence. Okay. So, which is why communication as a header, but these tiny little things make a huge difference. And that is one of the most common things that people struggle with. Another important skill is presentation. I have slides on the camera, but then I don't know if people are listening to me. I go on and on and on like I would in an offline situation, but online it's completely different. Okay, so understanding that difference and how can you present yourself. Non-verbal communication is really, really big. Again, I'm covering both virtual and offline because that's how life is now. We have both
And
scenarios in terms of communication.
we will get into details of each of these, Suman. So I think right now I
Okay,
just want.
so communication, presentation skills, non-verbal, executive presence, impromptu speaking, public speaking when you speak to larger audiences. I think these kind of cover the whole thing. So if you need a list.
And maybe if I can add, maybe working in teams or working with people, because that's another area which
Yeah.
of course comes from effective communication and
Yeah, so to me, communication is whether it is your subordinates, peers, seniors, it kind of covers everything for me.
fantastic. So let's deep dive a little bit into each of them, and since you help a lot of people overcome their communication issues, right? So what are the most common areas that from a mid-career point of view that you see people suffer, particularly from a communication window, right? So,
Yeah,
and
I think,
mid-career is people,
yeah.
maybe people with 10 years odd experience or 5 year plus experience, so that they're no longer new, but they're not very old or very deep into the career.
Actually, that's a very tricky place to be in, and tons of people get in touch with me, and I actually coach them because 5, 7 years of your career, you're still learning, you're still new. Okay, so you kind of grow in that sense. But the top challenge that people face when they hit that 5, 7, 10 year mark is that communication skill doesn't seem to be up to the mark. They don't seem to be living up to how good their communications should be. A lot of people say, when I worked on my own, it was fine. I'm great with my technical stuff, whether it is finance or data or engineering or whatever. But now I have a team and I'm also expected to present to the senior stakeholders in the company. Okay, now I need more power in my communication. I need to be able to hold people's attention, make interesting presentations, talk to my team. and delegate stuff, follow up, hold them accountable. Now, those are quite a few communication pieces that suddenly people find themselves grappling with, saying, I can do my work, but now I don't know how to deal with these different kinds of people that I'm supposed to. So now I need to enhance my communication skills. It's not advanced enough. I think that is one of the most common challenge that really, which hits people when they reach a particular point. Because technical knowledge, they're ready and they can move on, but they fall short with communication.
Hmm. So while we are at this topic, Suman, how, so suppose I am that person where, the last 2 minutes that you described, I am that person. I maybe I'm okay with my work, but I struggle in communicating. And this has actually happened in my career, because at one point I had difficulty communicating in English. Even though I went to an English school, I grew up in Delhi. I was never confident speaking. I could write well, but I could write pretty well actually, but I could not speak till up to college as well, and maybe a little later as well. And at some point, I realized that this is no romance to settle with. I have to do something about it. And the only thing I did, which accidentally, in my view, accidentally worked for me, and I want your input. And there may be thousands and millions of people like me. What I did was that I started practicing quite a bit. Every opportunity that I got, I would never put my hand was always up for any volunteer activity where any kind of English speaking was required, including comparing at shows. Even though I had stage fright, I would volunteer for that, or going and meeting people for guest lectures and inviting them over. All of that required some level of uh, public speaking or effective communication. But this was trial and error, right? So it took me time. If I was your student today, how would you deal with me, or get me better at what I'm just describing?
I think the most common thing, like I said, in communication, I would call that articulation. So if one wants to power up their communication, articulation is what we are looking at. Articulation covers the art of expressing your thoughts and ideas in an effective way and the way you really want it to be. Think of one person who you really look up to, and anybody who's in the audience, and say, this is one person I love listening to. It could be Barack Obama, it could be Priyanka Chopra, it could be Michelle Obama, it could be Narendra Modi. Okay. Somebody who's a senior in your organization, somebody who's a professor in your college. What is that one thing that stands out? It's like, wow, this person really knows what he or she wants to speak, and they're so good, they're so fluent, they use such great words. Okay. So when you can think of what that looks, then you can start working on building that yourself. Okay. The first step to that would be figuring out where you are right now. You could probably use something like Udly. I was writing a post on it earlier, so that's on top of my mind. Or you could record your video for 2 minutes, watch it. I'm sure you yourself can see what are the differences. I'm not looking straight. My body language is not great. My voice is so low. Okay. And then once you have that basic input, and trust me, it's eye-opening to watch yourself. It's very cringy, but at the same time, it's very eye-opening to watch yourself and say, oh my God, is this how I sound? You could probably get the help of a friend or a colleague and say, dude, let's do this together. Okay. So you have an objective perspective. The second and the most important thing is to take action to work on what you feel is not working. Most people think of it as, हाँ ठीक है चलेगा, कर लिया तो it's fine, नहीं तो it's fine. It's not like it's a life and death situation. But trust me, beyond the point when you hit 10, 12 years, I have people coming to me even after 15 years saying, you know what, I'm so good, but somehow I'm stuck wherever I am. Okay. So find courses, go online, maybe work with a coach. 3 things that probably everybody should focus on is how can you structure your thoughts, voice modulation, and nonverbal communication. Okay. So if you say, okay, what the hell do I work on? Structuring your thoughts, modulating your voice, and building confidence in your voice modulation. I think these three things, if you cover, it pretty much gets you to understand the basics. Okay. Last, step three, practice. Like Anshuman said, I used to jump into every opportunity that I get. In fact, when I work with my clients, I insist on creating, right in the first session, we do a 1 hour practice plan, and I tell them what to do in that 1 hour so that they hit all these areas. And they need to do that at least 5 days a week. We meet once a week. So I'm like, 5 days a week, you've got to practice that and come back. It's like driving a car, right? You can't just sit with your instructor and say, oh, I come here every week, so I should become an expert. No, you have to take the car. You have to go outside on your own. You have to face the ups and downs, maybe hit somebody, maybe, kind of escape at the last minute, all that drama, right? So you have to get on stage. You have to jump in front of people. It could be a small group. It could be even in front of your family. If you have an extended family, just get in front of them and tell them what your week is like, what your work is like, okay? Even that makes a lot of difference. You have to face people, but practice so that when you actually get in front of people, you're not doing a trial and error in high stake meetings. You're doing it in low stake situations where you jump in and you practice, and then you see, hey, is my delivery okay? Is my modulation fine? Am I following what I had learned? So I'm sorry, it's a longish answer, but I think if anybody wants to do this, then these are the 3 steps, to follow.
And I'm glad you put it in that order also, Suman, because if, unless our thoughts are structured,
Yes.
we will not be able to communicate, right? So once we get the content out of the way, that I know what I will speak, then one can operate with modulation and
Yes.
articulation and confidence, and the stage fright part. All that goes away because your mind is clear. Very often, and I have also worked with a few people, including working on myself, where once I started getting my content clear, that I will only speak this much. Right? I have a speaking card, and I will not add to this. I will speak only this much. I found my confidence increasing like 3 times, straight away, because I knew that I am not. I don't need to create content on the fly, which now I can, but there was a time I could not, and
Yeah,
this
it
was a very.
becomes a habit beyond a point. You just kind of structure your thoughts in your head, and that's fine.
So even today, something I use, and I'm sure you also teach your students, is that if I have a public speaking engagement, 1 minute or 2 minutes, or just a little before going to stage or camera or whatever is the medium, I just actually pen down. I actually write down the top 3 points that I'm going to make. Even if I'm making 10 points, I write down only the top three,
Makes
because
sense.
my delivery is that at the end of this 20 minutes, half an hour, whatever time, these 3 points should drive home. Um, Not no more, no less, right? So somehow. Okay, that's a good start. Ati will go deeper into this and get into confidence also, which you briefly spoke about. But I just wanted to highlight a few audience which who are. So Arti, who was the guest last week, thank you, Arti, for joining this. And you speak from your heart, so language doesn't matter. Yes, of course. Thank you, Arti. That helps. Dr. Kapinder, I think somebody Suman, the way you can handle the worst conditions, or we can say how one can transform hell into heaven, reflects your true vision. Well said, well said. Selva Kumar, Durai Raj, another regular. Um, Thanks a lot, Selva, for attending. There are quite a few of these. So of course, I'm sorry I can't bring up all of these, but I'll try and select as the show goes on. So, cool. You briefly talked about confidence, Suman. So that's one area where, at least when I was starting out, I found hugely lacking, and there was no other way other than just practice. So the school of hard knuckles, as they say, hard knocks, as they say. So I stumbled, I learned, and over the years got better. Right? That's a very slow process. In the driving analogy, I would have probably hit many people or many things, or broken many cars. Um, in that analogy, right? So that's obviously not the best option, right? So if again the same question, if I was starting out with lack of confidence in particular in people situations. So I'll describe. I would get. I'm quite eloquent when in a smaller group, but in a larger group, I used to lose confidence completely. And if there was any requirement of speaking to even two people in that larger group, I was sweating. So that if you were to coach me today, and I'm assuming that there are many people in the audience or other people who will watch this show later who may have this problem and they come to you for some advice.
Yeah.
So how will you help me?
I think self confidence is more of a mindset thing. And I do work with mindset a lot of times with my clients. And I say skills hum baad mein karenge. So those are something that we're definitely going to cover. But let's look at the mindset. Uh, the most common thing that I find is the lack of confidence is mainly because of some stories that we have told about ourselves to ourselves. And if we need to find confidence, to me, it's more inward looking. Okay. When I actually start exploring, now I work with a lot of senior level people, and with me, they are candid and they want to be, vulnerable and like, yeah, this is the reason why. And I want to tell you why I feel underconfident. And I feel that the first most important thing is they have told some story about themselves and they believe it. And the most common ones are, I am not from English medium, I am from a very small town, I studied in vernacular till college and then I started learning, I had a bit of a stutter or a filler. Okay, but then when I talk to them now, none of that is visible. However, the story that they have told themselves and they believe in, they're still stuck there in that point in time because they're like, that is who I am. Okay. So I think first step is to change the mindset and say, let me look around and see what is my story today. Your
Yeah.
story today could be, I have been working for 15 years. I'm a senior manager in my organization. I have gotten promotions when I deserve them. So probably I have grown from that time. I've gotten better from that time. Okay, so to me that is step one, to change that story. Think, why am I feeling this way? Okay, second thing that I tell people to do is make a list of all your big and small accomplishments. We focus so much on the negative. Our self-talk is usually very negative. I can't talk like that person, he's so confident. Oh my god, I wish I knew so much of English, I wish I knew big words. We always focus on the negative. So I ask people to make a list of their accomplishments. I'm like, it could be promotions, it could be under the radar, if you helped somebody, you mentored somebody. Even in your personal life, if you feel you do charity or you're taking care of your parents, or your younger sibling that you love and you're protective of, everything, all those things bring out the positive in us and helps us discover who we are as people now, so that we can change the narrative that is there in our head. Okay, the moment you feel positive inside, your body language automatically reflects that. You will sit straighter, you will walk straighter, like you own the place. Okay, so mindset change, confidence building has to happen inside out. uh, One trick, the cheat code while you're working on all this is, one cheat code is to use spa pose. If I mean, everybody knows spa pose today, but if you stand in the superwoman position for 2 minutes, science shows, as research, if you've read Amy Cuddy's work, that automatically the physiology changes. Your testosterone goes up, your cortisol comes down. So while you're figuring that out, just sit straight, make sure you take up more room. Again, I've written a blog post on, there are 10 things that you can try and apply in your everyday life so that automatically you get into the habit of being in an expansive position. And like I said, research shows that that automatically makes you feel more confident. So that's like a quick cheat code. But otherwise, it's a good idea to just kind of work on your mindset, look at all the positives and say, hey, this is who I am now, rather than what I feel I think I have been for all these years. So inside
Yeah.
out.
That makes total sense. And I like how you said, Suman, that we tell stories to ourselves. And, and the example was my own example, like when we were discussing that I was telling myself stories that, I'm not good at this, I'm not good at this. The moment I started saying, okay, that's fine. I'm not good at this, but how do I get better? I will
Yes.
get better only by practicing, by volunteering, by seeking opportunities, and so on, and not bothering about uh, what will people think or say,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
they are
yeah.
not going to
So
be
it's
around in. Yeah.
it's conquering our own thoughts. Okay. So all that is there in us. We just have to unlock it.
Yeah. Deep. Okay, so at this moment, let us take one or two questions. But as we take questions, Suman, this is a question I usually ask towards the end, but maybe a break in pattern. So, hearing you either live, there are 150 odd people in the live show currently, and I don't know, maybe on your stream also there will be people. So, big number. If somebody wants to contact you, how do they reach out to you?
So if people are on LinkedIn, they can just shoot me a DM. Okay. I'll send you a Calendly link where we can get on a proper 15-20 minute call and discuss the strategy that you need to improve your communication. If you're on YouTube, you can again Google Suman Kher and you will reach my this thing. So I think the easiest way is to just Google my name and choose whether you want to look at my blog, go to my YouTube, come to LinkedIn and get in touch with me. So it's very easy. Again, if you go to my blog, right there on the header, you have a button which says get in touch with me. So I think it's fine. You can DM me, you can watch my video and leave a comment there, whatever. I'm all over the place. So just
And
Google my
you,
name, you'll find it.
just to be clear, you do take individual clients, right?
Yes,
Because,
I do.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So there you go. Suman doesn't just work with big organizations, she also takes individual clients. So if you are considering somebody to help you get better at all these aspects, you can thank me later.
Yeah, in
So,
fact, I give priority to individuals because I think it's so fantastic to work with individuals and see that real difference happening rather than
ah,
coaching like a group of training a group of 20 people and you don't know who is really putting that effort. So, yes, if you want
hmm.
one on one, I'm going to make you a priority. No worries.
Cool. You spoke about clarity, and I lost the yeah, I can find it now. Mallar Manan Belluchami. I'm sorry if I mispronounce your name, but he's asking, can you illustrate the mechanism to ensure clarity, or at least how do we get better at being clear? So, anything on this very quickly?
Clarity meaning clarity of thoughts.
Clarity of thoughts, because I think this question came in
That's
when you
what.
were speaking about being clear about what we have to speak and that.
Yeah. Okay. It's a short answer. Always remember that when you are speaking, when you're communicating, it's for your audience. It's not for you. Okay.
Yeah.
If you think about it that way, then you will also be mindful of how you are putting your thoughts together, which is why structure is so important. Because if I'm confused, what I'm saying is going to further confuse people. So, which is why think about it from the audience perspective. And a simple way to structure your thoughts is beginning, middle, end. So start with an intro, tell what you want to tell people. In the body, like Anshuman said, maybe 3 points maximum, but it could also be 1 or 2 points. You don't force yourself to come up with three if you don't need to. And then end it by saying, okay, this is why I feel what I feel, or here is what I want to say. Okay. And all three pieces are important. So when you are structured, your audience stays with you. Okay. If you're going all over the place, your audience is like, I don't know, I was here now, then here now, and then there and there. I don't know what's happening. Which is why just think of the journey you want to take your audience in and then tell them, guys, this is what I'm going to tell you. Here is now I'm telling this to you, and here is what I just told you. You know, the Dale Carnegie's principle of communication.
And I think just to add a little bit, Suman, from my experience, and I learned this over the years, that initially when we are growing up and we get opportunities to speak or to present, we want to show the world that we know this stuff. And that is the biggest mistake we make, because the communication part is not about telling people what we know, it is about telling people what they want to know.
Yes.
So, communication is about what is delivered communication. In quality, I'm a quality professional. So, I talk a lot at work about delivered quality. Forget what you did at your company, but what was delivered to the client or customer is
Yes.
more important. Same happens for communication. In a room full of communication or students or audience, and maybe this session, what will be the one, two, three things that they will carry back?
Yeah.
That is more important. Unless, of course, it's a academic class or a lecture where you are going deeper into something, so you have to take those topics.
Yeah.
But otherwise, so there you go, Mr. Velluchami. You got your answer. While we are at audience questions, let's take one more. We have one or two more. This is not so much a question, but thank you, Sukrit. Uh, he definitely noted down your cheat code, Suman. So, um,
Okay.
Kishore Moliti. Kishore has a question on what are the best soft skills quality a CEO should have to lead a team in corporate sector. So, assuming Kishore is an aspiring CEO, uh, what would be the top few qualities that you would suggest?
I think number one would be people skills. And by people skills, I mean being intuitive and understanding what each one is doing and how each one can be supported. Okay. Like coming down to not sitting in your ivory tower and saying, okay, I am the CEO and I know what's happening or I don't have to bother. But if you care about people, you're able to communicate with them, get to them. It's not like I'm going to speak to people only who are just below me. Generally, figuring out with people who are in a team, identifying people who have talent because you've really noticed somebody who made a presentation, maybe congratulated that person later. Okay, automatically that just becomes a part of the culture. So I think people skills, because at the CEO level, communication has to be a given. But then how do you use that communication to connect with people, support them, tell them that you're there, being approachable? I think that to me would be the top skill of a CEO because that's what sets the culture of the entire organization. So if you believe in being non-communicative, that's a culture, but these are what you wanted. But if you really believe in communicating, connecting with people, and being approachable, that becomes the culture.
Sure, that makes a lot of sense. Another small quick question. I have not heard of the Minto Pyramid, but maybe you have. Some tools. Jayant is asking some tools, principles for powerful presence in audience like Minto Pyramid principles. He's benefited. Are you familiar with the Minto Pyramid principle? Because I am not.
No, me neither. I'm just trying to quickly look at what it is.
Don't worry. So
Yeah.
Jayant, you will call me later and we'll figure this out. Okay, Selva, who mentioned earlier as well, has a question around storytelling. So,
Okay.
how to improve storytelling? Sometimes people interrupt how we can bring them. So bring them back, right? So I think the question is more around is improve storytelling. And Selva is a quality professional like I am, so he's probably asking from a work setting while explaining his work, he might want to take
Yeah.
advantage of skill
Yeah.
sets. Any advice for him?
So generally, people feel stories meaning, oh, I have to be like this person who can describe things, plots and characters, etc. But when it comes to storytelling for work, a simple anecdote, a simple sharing of experience in 2 lines, just helps grab the audience attention. One of the most important places where I tell people to use storytelling and other speaking tools is when they begin their presentation. All right.
Hmm.
In fact, storytelling is a tool that can be used at any point in your presentation to bring back the audience and break the monotony of the data or the topic that you're presenting. So instead of saying, hi, everybody, my name is Suman, and today I'm here to present the marketing report of what we've done in the last quarter, everybody knows. But what if your presentation starts with, I was driving down to my house the other day, and at the red light, I actually saw a billboard. I had nothing else to do, so I started reading it. And it occurred to me that, okay, and then you kind of maybe connect it to your work. Immediately, people are going to be like, oh, wow, I thought this was going to be a marketing presentation, but okay, this sounds more interesting. Right? So similarly, okay, I was sitting in Starbucks and, this couple was sitting and talking next to me and I heard them say this, and that reminded me of, how we kind of had the same kind of conversations at work. I'm just giving examples. Okay. But the moment you say, I was sitting in Starbucks, or have you realized, when you're sitting in a coffee shop, this is what usually happens. Immediately, people are going to be like, okay, here is something new. So, storytelling is not really the art of, at least in work situations. Okay. Just think of two, three things where you could use them as stories in your experience. Or when I was working with this other company on a different project, this is what we did. Boom, there's an immediate connect with the audience. I think simple things like this really bring out the presentation skills of a person.
Sure. Thanks, Suman. Selva, just to add a little bit, and first of all, there is one full episode that I did with Indranil Chakravarti on storytelling, so you
Awesome.
can check that out as well to go deeper into the session. But Suman has given you some, very quick tips, keeping the time and scope of this discussion in mind. Uh, One important thing I will tell you, or maybe one or two. Firstly, tell your own stories and
Yes.
connect it to the context, because sometimes I see
Always.
people, of course, after they probably attend a storytelling workshop or a training, they come and shove the story in, and the story has no connection to the context or the content, and neither do they try and establish that context or connection. So that lands very poorly, right? Then the audience is thinking, is this guy totally mad, because the story was completely something else, the content is something else, and he's forgotten to, or he or she has forgotten to build that bridge. I said he because mostly women are very good storytellers. So they are able to establish that connection far better, at least at work, that I see. And always one thing will lead to another, like a, like a very orchestrated kind of a
Yeah.
thing. So Selva, those were some tips. I will. I have one question around confidence, also, and maybe, since we talked about a little bit about confidence, uh, let me shift to one question, and I will shift to this view so that people can see the book stack behind you. So you,
Those are all my favorite recommendations.
I know, but I want people to know. So I can see the one thing definitely there, TED Talks as well, and Talk Like TED. Um,
Yeah.
so people who want to improve their communication or soft skills, what will be that one or two books that you would recommend
I
that
think,
you have? Yeah,
yeah,
so
it really depends. So I think that my top recommendation for communication is TED Talks. And it's not that, hey, I am not going to give a TED Talk anytime soon, so why do I need it? But TED Talks and tips can be used even in your presentations, because he's talking about so many different tools that you can use: storytelling, bringing in props, introducing. So he talks about 4 ways in which you should not start a presentation, 4 ways in which you should start a presentation. Okay, so there is tons of information in this which all of us can use even in our presentations. And there's also the last chapter is on managing the stage, etc. But if you don't do offline presentations, that's completely fine. But it's definitely a must read for anybody. I mean, do a chapter a day. Try and see how much of that can you apply. Because to me, you can read it cover to cover, but if you don't apply it, that's not going to make any sense. If you want to understand power pose and how it can make a huge difference to your confidence, okay, this is the book. In fact, if you look for Amy Cuddy, she also did a TED Talk first and then she wrote the book. If you say, oh my God, this is so big, but just go and watch her TED Talk, and there also she'll be able to tell you how she discovered it, researched, okay, and then how she used it to come out of her own, she had a bad phase where she made an accident, etc. But this kind of tells you the whole research of how we believe that the mind is connected to the body, but she's saying how they change the research to prove, okay, try different things to prove that the body and tell the mind to be confident. Okay, so this is for confidence. That's a great book. My last recommendation would be, since we're talking about senior management, Executive Presence. This is like the textbook on executive presence. It talks about 3 things that comprise executive presence, how to uh, use them or develop them. Okay, and the thing about this book is the author is not talking about her experiences. Okay, she tied up with the university and she's got 3,000 senior leaders voting on every component of uh, executive presence. So they've broken down communication into its parts, gravitas into its parts, body language and appearance into its parts. And everybody, senior leaders, have voted on it, men and women, okay, and say, why is it so important and to what extent? So if you look at the book, I just want to quickly show you what I mean. That there are graphs in it, okay? It's got a lot of illustrations, etc. Oh my God, you never find something when you really need it. There you go. So it's got graphs where it tells you, all right, so this is top communication traits. And then it's for men and for women. How important is it? And senior leaders have voted on this. So it's not like the author says it's important, so you have to listen to it. So the textbook on executive presence, I think. So I've covered communication, body language, and presence. 3 very important things for senior leaders.
Absolutely. And those who are regulars on my show will can also check my episode with Sheetal Kakkar Mehra. She's another executive presence coach based out of India. So in the Indian context also, she's written book as well. So in case you believe that, executive presence can be different for global context and Indian context. But Suman gave a wonderful summary. There is one question, and I think Gopesh is quite desperate to get the answer because he's asked this question 3 times. So I will definitely take your question, Gopesh. I was not ignoring you. It's just that I wanted to weave the question in a format or a meaningful, I would say, order. So Gopesh has the earlier version of this question was that he wants to improve his modulation and how he speaks. And since you work with such people who want to get better at what they speak, firstly, of course, we must believe that what we do, what we speak is good enough. It's usually confidence is the issue. But assuming, of course, now that Gopesh, you are publicly asking for some input or help, let's go to the expert. So Suman, how would you help Gopesh? And this is the only information we have. I think the earlier question he asked, which was similar, he did mention.
So is he asking about voice modulation?
What voice? So I found the earlier question that he had asked. So voice modulation.
Voice modulation. Watch, practice. Again, I don't know if I should do that, a shameless plug. If you go to my YouTube channel, there are videos on everything. They're short videos, so there are like actionable tips in every video. Okay. So watch and practice. And watch a variety of things. You can watch commencement speeches, TED Talks. I don't know how many people know that there's a world championship of public speaking that Toastmaster hosts. This is close to 90 years now. And the winning speeches are such beautiful pieces of art where the best of communication components come in. Okay. In fact, this year's annual show is happening on, I think the 19th is the final round. And by next Sunday, we should know who is this year's winner of the World Championship. So what happens is when you watch different kinds of speeches, you understand what is the range of voice modulation. How do people emphasize on particular words and what difference does that make? Okay. Secondly, you have to practice it on your own. Go to Google, search for impromptu topics, pick topics and talk. Okay. And when you talk, try and modify, take it up, bring it down. Remember, this is practice. So it doesn't matter, even if you sound funny, it's okay. But then for your voice to realize I have that particular range, it needs to go up and down. All right. That's very important. One simple tip that I give people is if you have children, read stories to them, like young children, read stories to them. Okay. Because you can't just read a story to a kid.
You have to enact it.
You've got to say there's this big elephant meeting a tiny ant. Okay, so the big you go, your voice is like the vocal cords are opening up, saying, oh, okay. And don't worry, you're not going to speak like this in an actual presentation, but your emphasis will come down to a natural level. But voice modulation is nothing but knowing when to emphasize words, take it up and down. Watch, practice. And working with a coach it's never harmful. So yeah, that always helps.
And I've seen one more thing which has helped me also, Suman, is that I learned from my mentor very early that if you want to say something really important and want everybody to listen, lower your volume. People actually start paying more attention in the room if you have lowered your volume because they assume that you are going to say something very important. and they have to strain their ears. And then you raise your volume because now you have the attention. So to get that attention, and I
Yeah.
use this trick very often. If I am in a noisy room or a noisy meeting, especially offline, I lower my volume, speak in almost a whisper, get the attention back, and then deliver what I had to deliver. If since Gopesh, you have asked this question, if you watch a lot of stand-up comedians or people
Oh,
who
yes.
deliver,
Yep.
they do a lot.
Absolutely.
So they before they deliver the punchline, you will always find that there is a softening on the entire stage. So they really go low, and then that
Yeah.
punchline, because they have already got that attention
And
back.
pausing is a great technique here. I think your voice and the pause, especially with stand-up comedy,
Correct.
and when you say something and you pause, that again says, okay, something really important. Yeah, stand-up comedy is also one of my favorite. This thing I tell people on a Sunday, just watch stand-up comedy and your practice for the day is done.
And talking of stand-up comedy, we've also had show number 50 was Papa CJ. So those who
Oh,
are
awesome.
yeah, so you can check that out as well. And I'm trying to get another one in the next few episodes, because learning from different people, actually helps.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Uh, I- Iram, Iram Irfan, asking an important question. He thinks it's simple, but to boost confidence while attending meetings, is it important to be on video? So obviously, this is a work-related question, Suman, which is in the last 3 years, it has invaded our lives. We are
Yeah.
always working from home, and Zoom or Microsoft Teams or other such tools we are using. And some people are okay being on video and others are not. Of course, some are
Yeah.
not because of bandwidth issues, or they may not have a workplace at home and other things. Assuming they don't have bandwidth issues and they actually have a workplace at home or something presentable, what is your response to this?
I think firstly, being on video is important. Okay. Would you sit behind a curtain or sit behind the door and you're in an offline meeting? No, right? You will sit in front of people. However, because of bandwidth issues, if you do not have video for some reason, two things that you can really do is number one, pay attention to your voice. Your voice really needs to have that modulation so that people pay attention. You could go fast, you could go slow, pause, uh, go softer, like Anshuman said. So use every trick that you have in your book to go ahead and make sure that people's attention is on your voice to make up for the fact that you are not visible on camera. Secondly, try and see what kind of engagement that you can bring in. Can you ask people to, guys, give me a thumbs up? If you agree, raise your hand. Okay, so that kind of really helps. Or go ahead and put in the chat, do you agree? So if people say yes, 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 even if 50% say yes, so that ensures that people don't drop out even mentally, and maybe they're using their phone or doing something else on their laptop, because when you say do this, give me a thumbs up, tell me in the chat, so then they've got to stay with you. Okay, so focus on your voice and get people to get engagement.
Fantastic. And just when you are alone in the house and doing a live show, there will be somebody
Then
ringing the doorbell.
I switched off my bell. I did.
I can't do that. There is no provision, but I'm sure we will be disturbed again. But let it
Never
be.
mind. We
Yeah,
understand.
let it be. Okay. Very quickly, I'm looking for one question. Interesting question. I don't have the answer, but the question is to me. How to appear on for a TED talk? So, David, good question. I've never been on a TED talk.
Me
The
neither.
the
Google it.
yeah,
Google it.
the a little bit I can share. So the original TED talk is not, you can't apply. They will invite you, right? So they
Yeah.
invite you. This is like top of the top. What
Yeah.
would probably mean is TEDx. So
Yeah.
TEDx is independently conducted TED talks, which can be done by universities or small groups or other formats, and there will be one in your city or in your neighborhood, or not neighborhood, at least in the city or country. And there, that application process is there. I have been approached a few times. Due to work schedules and all other reasons, I have always declined, but they still want you to apply. So One important thing, if you are applying, any one of you are applying for TEDx, there are scams going around. They will ask for money. There is no money required. You don't have to pay for being or speaking at TEDx.
Oh, I didn't
So
know that.
don't fall for that. There is a huge scam going on. They will approach
Wow.
you. You will end up paying, and then the show doesn't happen. And it is a total scam because it's not even listed as a official TEDx. So yeah, good that we covered this. Virendra, oh, do we have curriculum? Virendra, I think your question is about the coaching that Suman provides. So I suggest that you reach out to her, and she will be able to share more sessions. So quite a few questions still pouring out. I'm trying to find the one question which uh, I can't locate the question, Suman, but I remember the essence. So it was around this, online or camera etiquette, right? So we had one question from Meram as to whether we should be on camera or not.
Hmm.
So the answer is yes, if you can. But of course, there are multiple factors. But assuming now we are, right? So what are some of the tips you share with your clients on being more effective on camera
Uh,
in work situations, right? So assuming that.
you mean the camera setting and stuff, and not really how to project your
How to
communication on camera?
So camera settings, of course, most of the time we use laptop camera. So that is beyond our general control. But what can we do? How do we appear? What can we do to improve our communication on the camera?
Yeah, so I think what I tell my clients is yes, the default is the camera, but always prop your laptop on a few books, which is another reason why I have so many books handy around me because there are some calls, if there are video calls or, I need to access things on my laptop. My phone is the best, but then if I do it, I will always prop my laptop. And I tell people if it is an important presentation, please make this effort. Okay, prop your laptop because if you're looking down, automatically your shoulders, your back, everything is falling into low power pose, which automatically makes you less confident. And research has proven this, so I confidently share this with people. So for important presentations, if you prop even like 4 books, automatically your camera at least comes till here, and
Yeah,
that automatically gets you to look straight, sit straight, project your voice. People feel, the audience feels more comfortable, like, yeah, you are looking at me and not looking down at me. Okay, so I think that is one thing that I definitely get people to do in all my sessions. I'm like, check your frame first. Only then the whole body language and the confidence is going to flow. And like I said, most importantly, with even if your camera's on, your voice is very, very important. If you have 5, 10, 15 people listening to you, you have to use every trick in the book. Every 30 seconds you change tack to make sure that people don't drop out of your presentation and maybe they're on WhatsApp or they're looking at their calendar or answering email saying, okay, I've zoned out. No. So you either use a speaking tool, use a story, ask a question, ask them to put something in the chat, give a thumbs up. Okay. Again, there are a whole lot of other speaking tools that can be used, which of course I can't go into this thing. So it's not like, okay, every 30 seconds you say, guys, give me a thumbs up in the chat. There are so many other things that you can do, but that is very, very important on camera. It's very easy to lose your audience. So it's your expertise in communication to make sure that you have those many things in your arsenal that you just don't give them an opportunity to zone out and start doing something else. They've got to keep coming back.
thanks, Suman. And my apologies again to the person who asked this question. I just can't find your question in the long list of questions, but I remember the essence of the question. And while you were speaking, Suman, I maybe a little bit I can add is that all of you can see I'm actually standing today, right? So many times I stand and deliver talks or attend sessions because that automatically brings your eye level to the
Absolutely.
camera level. And there is a natural movement when you are standing. So
Yes.
it also keeps you a little bit balanced and for longer conversations. So some of these tricks are there. I don't always sit, but or always stand, but just to break the pattern, sometimes I do this. So you can also try this. Whoever asked this question, Suman, we haven't realized that we are above time. We are past time. So and there are still a lot of questions. So what I'll request you, Suman, is that and being a quality professional, I would like to end on time. My request to you is that the questions will, at least on LinkedIn, are all on the LinkedIn show page. So
Okay.
whenever you get some time, if you can give a little
Yeah,
bit
I'll be
tip
happy
over.
to do that. Yeah, I'll be happy to do that.
And those, once again, those who attended the show or will listen to this later, do follow Suman, and she shares most of what she's shared on her free posts, so you
Yeah,
don't have
but
to.
then a lot of tips that I've shared today go only to my paid clients. Okay, so that's like a glimpse of what I really do with my clients, because all the questions that you asked me were, I can't just off the top say, "Hi, do this, do that." So those are like choicest tips that I share only with my paid clients.
That is a bonus for the people who attended today. So fantastic. So there you got some free stuff. So thank you very much, Suman, for doing
My
this. I know it
pleasure.
took some time happening, but I'm glad we could make it happen at a time when
Me
it works
too.
for both of us and the audience. Not only this live audience, but also people who will watch this show later on as a recorded session. Thank you for you doing this. We hope, both of us hope, that you find something valuable in this session, and most importantly, you can act on some of the tips.
Yes.
Otherwise, all this is
I
a
had the
good.
same thought. I had the same thought. Guys, work on it.
So work on it. Anuradha is thanking you, and many others are as well. So yeah. I always try and end the show whenever I can with the announcement of the next show. So I may not have an episode next Saturday. I have some other appointment. I might be speaking at a session. So the next show is actually with Krish Dhanam. Krish Dhanam is a globally renowned motivational speaker, one of the only two people who Zig Ziglar mentored himself.
Wow.
So I've been able to get him. He's of course based out of the US. So the show will be in the evening, 6 p.m. So if you want to catch somebody who was personally mentored by Zig Ziglar, one of the only two people in the world, uh, Krish Dhanam will be my next speaker on 19th, 6 p.m. India time. I'll of course update my timeline and post for everybody. So with that, it's time to end the broadcast. And thank you everyone. Thank you, Suman.
Thank you, Anshuman. See you guys on LinkedIn. I hope to see everybody on LinkedIn.
Sure. Thanks, sir. Bye bye.
Bye.